Testing. Okay. Yeah, whatever. Alright, let's see. We got the microphone on. It's not muted. We have some background music. And this is go. Alright. We are good to go. So, welcome. And it is Wednesday, the 11th. So I am going to be playing a game, sort of. until Iron Mouse goes online with her live thingamajiggy, then I'm out of here. And I'm gonna watch her stream because I am quite interested in her concert. I have no idea what it's going to be, and I'm curious. But before that, I am going to be playing this game, sort of. It's called 1000-Year-Old Vampire. Can you see that? Yeah. So here, 1000-Year-Old Vampire. It's a book in which, what page am I? 11. Okay, so it's a book, 1000-Year-Old Vampire, and yeah, what you do is you read through the story, and you have these dice. It's a D6 and a D10 that you use, and then you go through. Oh, loading. Okay, let's here. So this number 1, number 2, these are prompts, and so you start the book at prompt number 1, this one, which is this: in your blood hunger you destroy blah blah blah, and you read this, you follow through to what it commands you, then you roll the dice, and depending on the numbers that you get, you take the D10 and you subtract the D6 from it, and the results gives you the next number. If it is positive, you go forward in the prompts. If it's negative, you go backwards in the prompts. These are the prompts. So yeah. So to start off, here playing the game. So let me just go here. I think it's here. So in the game you have these 5 things. You have memories, skills, resources, characters, and marks. I've already made 2 files here. So I have memories. You have 5 memories, and each memory can hold 3 experiences. If these memories are full, you have to remove one of the memories. Now you can play it in 2 ways. You can do it this way, remove, if, like, say for example, this one is full, this one is full, that one as well, that too, and that too. These are all full, and I get like, I have to create a new memory, and these are full. I have to remove one of the memories. I have to remove this one and put a new one in there. So these memories, you have to delete them, and so you have to go through the game. You also get resources. I don't know how many. I think you start with 3. The same with skills. You have 3 skills. You also need 3 characters, and a mark is, I think, not necessary, not obligated, but you can have it. A mark is like a scar, like black eyes or a hand chopped off, stuff like that. Characters can be mortal or immortal. Skills are, I don't know, skills, and resources are objects like a house, money, stuff like that. And skill is like sword fighting, art, whatever. And then during the game you might have to check a skill, which is removing a skill, or resources, remove resources, and then you have to do it creatively. and when you have no more skills and no more resources, the game ends, and you have to make a fitting end to the story. Now the story starts preferably in the past, somewhere. Let me see, character, I think it's over here with character. Characters are the people, no. Vampire, start, so to start a game, vampire creation. Start by imagining a person in a distant past, a Roman emperor, Mesopotamian midwife, French knight, whatever, and this will become a vampire. Mention when they were born, blah 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 blah. Start a memory with one experience to encapsulate their history, for instance, this. Then create 3 mortals, add them to the vampire record sheet. These mortals will have relationships with your vampire, relatives, friends, lovers, and stuff. Describe each character in a few words. Then give your vampire 3 skills fitting to their life and 3 resources. Alright. Yeah. Then create 3 more experiences with 1 experience each being entered into a separate memory. Wait. Wait. Start a memory with 1 experience that... Okay, the first experience is a little different than most experiences in the broad summary of the vampires. Okay, and then create 3 more experiences with each being entered into a separate memory. Each of these experiences should combine 2 of your vampire's traits. Has the long skills, right. Okay. I think I can do that. Yeah, lastly, create an immortal. This is a creature that gifted a curse, your vampire. Create a mark and an experience that explains how your vampire became a creature of the night. One such immortal. Once you have finished creating your vampire, they will have 3 skills, 3 resources, at least 3 mortals, 1 immortal, and 1 experience in each of the 5 members. Okay, so I forgot to put here an immortal as well. Immortal. I'm gonna put that near characters. Okay, so let's start the game, I'd say. So start by imagining a person in the distant past, a Roman emperor, blah 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 blah. Okay, so where are we going? We're going back in time. What do I like? Let's see. We're gonna start with a memory that we know, have experience with. So we're gonna create a character here in Europe, the old Europe. In the distant past. Can I go to the, like, a caveman period, or is that a little... Oh wait, what is a vampire? I forgot to read this. Okay, the vampire is a character you will follow through the narrative. How they manifest a vampire is... its nature is up to you, but make several assumptions. Okay, to get the best experience out of this game, your vampire should prey on human beings for sustenance, should seek to camouflage them among those on which they feed, should have been a human once and still have human needs in one sense or another, should be susceptible to environmental dangers that regular mortals might not care about, such as sunlight, should be practically immortal, should be mostly a loner. The prompts in 1000 Years of Vampire are not necessarily geared towards complex political machinations between factions of... Okay, so I have to keep in mind Loner, that's no problem. Immortal, that's okay. Sunlight, okay, so no sunlight. No sunlight. The cross is a danger. The wooden stake is a danger. Yeah, we'll keep those basic things. And onions? Garlic, sorry, garlic. Garlic, the wooden stake. Yeah, you know, just a regular vampire. Okay, but he has to prey on humans. Okay, we gotta remember that. Okay, so where do I want to start? Where do I want to start? Oh, yeah, you know what? I'm gonna roll the dice and they're gonna give me a year. We got 2 and 3. So that's 32. And then 3, 3. Okay, I'm gonna need a random year. You know what? Let's go to Wikipedia. Wikipedia timeline. List of the timeline, Wikipedia. Let's see if we have a run here. Timeline of European blah blah. Okay, this wasn't helpful. Okay, I'm just gonna have to choose. I don't know, what's an interesting time? Medieval times? Pirate time? I don't know. How about a Roman time? Yeah, let's go with... Oh yeah, okay. Let's go with a Roman... Oh, that's up here. Okay, so... Imagining a person. So we are going with a Roman soldier living in Great Britain near Hadrian's Wall. So, imagine start memory with one experience that complete. Okay, so Ludovic. Okay, so we'll copy that prompt, that example. So I am Ludovic, son of what's a Roman name? Julius, not the Roman Empire, but just a random Julius, son of Julius, born near Hadrian's Wall. It wasn't called Hadrian's Wall back then, but okay, one of the things that this book says is don't be afraid to check the timeline. So let's Hadrian's Wall. Oh, okay. So Hadrian's Wall. Oh, that was over there. We also have an Antonine Wall. We didn't know that. Begun AD 122. So Hadrian, okay. When did it get destroyed? Books, film, Roman period name, garrison after Hadrian. Oh well, actually it's still there. So yeah, but when was it used? In the reign of soldiers garrisoned along the line that was. So yeah, we'll put our Ludovic will live somewhere around there. Is there some more history to it? Developed turf wall, standard garrison. The Emperor. Bleh. You know what? Let's just go with the story here. And so I am Ludovic, son of Julius, born near Hadrian's Wall. in, let's say, 155 AD. Since we're Lord, I am a poor knight swindled out of my riches. I am a soldier garrisoned at the wall. And he has a regular life. He has a wife and children. Yeah. So, okay, that's the first memory and experience. This first experience is a little different than most experiences. Before becoming another thing, this experience is starting to carry the first memory. Next, create at least 3 mortals and add them to the vampire's record sheet. These mortals will have a relationship with your vampire. At least 3. Alright, places you have chosen. Wait. Or anything else appropriate. Okay, so characters. So his wife will be Adriana. I don't know if I have no idea if that is a Roman name or not, but we're going there. Adriana is Julius is my wife. My waifu. My waifu is and then to the vampire record, these mortals will have. Okay, just his wife. Then his son, he has a son, Kubo. That is also not a Roman name. Let's go with, let's see if Google can help us here. Classical Roman name. Classical Roman name. Cicero. Nee. Hey, Adriana. That's cool. Marcellus. Yes. Let's go with Marcellus. Marcellus. Marcellus is my son. My disappointment. Disappointment. My disappointment because he failed to sword fight. Nah, let's not do that. Is my son. He's learning to be a soldier too. Then we have. Do we still have it active here? Augustus? Sure, why not? And then we have Augustus. I don't know what the name is, but let's just chief of the garrison. Let's add another one. Marcus, my buddy. Sure. Alright. So create at least 3 mortals. Alright. Okay, then give your vampire to be 3 skills fitting to their lot in life and 3 resources they obtained while still mortal. Okay, so 3 skills. That is going to be sword fighting, wood working, and he can sing. Yes, he can sing. Right, resources. He has a ukulele. I don't know. What? Okay, I have to Google that. Right. Ancient Roman guitar. Ancient. Oh, it's with a U. Okay. Ancient Roman guitar. Traditional Roman musical instrument. The lute. Okay. So he has a lute. 1 lute. Of course, he also has a sword. So he has one sword. And what else does he have? He has a bag with coins. One bag with 50. How much was that? Roman money. Yes, Roman money currency. How much is Roman money worth now? How much was it worth? You know what? I don't know. I don't care. We're just gonna go with gold, silver, and we're gonna pretend one bag with schmeckles, with 5 golden schmeckles, and 25 silver schmeckles. Oh yeah, and 50 copper schmeckles. Okay, schmeckles. It needs an H. I'm gonna Google that, how you write it actually. But I like this way, schmeckles. Schmeckles? Shekels. Nah, schmeckles. That's more fun. Hello, Whoopty. Thank you for following. Yeah, I hope you're gonna enjoy the story here. So, hello. So yeah, I'm not sure how up to date you are with what I'm doing here, but I am starting the story here. I'm creating the character that I'm gonna use now. Let's see, I've got skills, I got the resources. Okay, now I have to create 3 more experiences with 1 entered into a separate memory. Each of these experiences should combine 2 of your vampire's traits. If your vampire has a long okay. So experience number 1. So he has a wife, a son, he has sword fighting, so he got himself during a battle at the wall. Okay, that's with his sword. He can sing, so he had a small concert at New Year's Eve at the garrison at which he sang. I don't know, did the Romans do that, New Year's Eve? I should check that. Did Romans celebrate New Year? I mean, they probably did, who doesn't? China's January 1st, yeah, of course they do. Alright, then 1 more memory. Let's see, his buddy. Oh yeah, he went fishing with his buddy. He went fishing with his buddy Marcus and caught a giant fish as big as his loot. As a loot. Alright. Then I have to go here. Lastly, create an immortal. This creature has gifted or cursed your vampire with unlife. Create a mark and experience that explains how your vampire became a creature of the night. Alright. Once you have finished creating your vampire, they will have 3 skills, 3 resources, 3 mortals, 1 immortal, and 1 experience each of their 5 memories. Okay. So I have to create an immortal. It will be called... what's a good name for an immortal? The all-seeing eye. Nah, let's just go with a vampire. Ooh, or a witch. Yeah, a witch and like... Oh, yeah, one of those druids. Yes, a druid. Okay, a druid that cursed But why did he curse him? Oh yeah, a druid from across Adrian's wall cursed. Yes, okay. But he's immortal. Okay, so a druid cursed, what was the name? Ludovic? Because he stole some. Yes, that's a good one. A druid that cursed Ludovic because he stole an amulet that one of the soldiers of the druids, of one of the druids, like a druid that cursed Ludovic because he stole his amulet. Stolen during a battle at the Adrian's wall, and then he got cursed with life. He has a mark, which is going to be a black spot on his chest, where his heart is located. All right. So, character is created, playing the game, blah blah blah. Yeah, end game. Yeah, 2 stars. Prompt. Passage of time. Passage of time. I gotta check. Historical events. Work with them. Don't fret about specific years. Breaking timeline. Okay, so to review, start at prompt 1 on the next page. Subtract positive numbers. Here if you land a prompt. Oh yeah, if I land multiple times on a prompt, I can do the next thing in it. Okay, so I have to start here at page 1 at prompt number 1. So in your blood hunger, you destroy someone close to you, kill a mortal character, create a mortal if none are available, take the skill Bloodthirsty. So during his as Ludovic is becoming a vampire, they are at the battlefield, and of course Marcus, his buddy, is also there because they are also garrisoned in the same station. And during that, when he transforms into a vampire, he is so bloodthirsty because, you know, he just transformed. That takes a lot of effort. And his friend Marcus was just next to him, and he attacks him. And he bites him in the neck and sucks him dry completely, killing his best friend in the process. So Marcus is now died. As he lays there on the grass, the shriveled body, cold and dead. Ludovic sees what he has done. Take the skill Bloodthirsty. Bloodthirsty. So after that horrible experience, he walks away from the battle. Okay, I have 7 and 6, so I have to go 1 step ahead. Yes, horrified at your new nature, you withdraw from society. Where do you hide? How do you feed? Create a stationary resource which shelters you. Okay. Because still mortified by what he has done to his best friend, he cannot find the heart to return home to his wife and son, because he is so ashamed of what he has done to his best friend. Because of course his best friend was also the friend of the family, so how can he ever return home to his wife? So he runs away across Adrian's wall into the dark forest on the other side of the wall, and there he hides into the forest. He builds one small camp near a waterfall. there's a cave in which he starts to hide. A cave near a waterfall becomes his new house, becomes his home. The first few years it is very muddy and cold, but over the years he, builds a house for it. And he discovers that he has to go inside the cave during the day because as a vampire he cannot survive in the sunlight. So during the day he stays there, and at night he goes out into the forest and tries to feed on different animals and sometimes even a human. Yes. Sometimes even eating a human from across the wall, a Roman, and sometimes the druids. Okay, I have 0 and 5. So that means I have to go back 5, but I can't go further back than this one, so I have to stay here. But as I have already done this one, I have to now do this one. You are overcome by panic and maul someone close to you, accidentally turning them into a monster like yourself. Convert a beloved mortal character into an enemy immortal. Take a skill ashamed. Okay. After a long time, he misses his wife and son, and he goes back across the wall because he wants to see his wife once more. He doesn't know how many years have passed, so he just goes across the wall. As he walks closer to the house, he notices that there's a fire burning, and he watches through the window inside, and he sees his wife Adriana sitting at the fire making some dinner for what is presumably his son. But he doesn't see his son. So he stares a little at the window, wondering should he enter or should he not. He probably shouldn't. But as he stays there, he forgets about time, and suddenly his son appears behind him. And his son doesn't recognize him anymore because he has changed so much over the years. He has become older. And his son is like, "Who are you? What are you doing here?" And he draws his sword towards his father. He doesn't know, of course, that it is his father. And in his panic, he's like, "Oh, I wasn't doing anything. I just was here. I didn't mean to be intrusive." But Marcellus, having heard stories about somebody killing people, innocent people, thinks that this guy is indeed the one killing those people and animals in gruesome ways. So he confronts him and tries to attack him. And of course, in the battle that ensues, Ludovic is able to kill his son and gravely maul him. But in the process, indeed, he bites his son, but not enough to kill him. Yes. And therefore his son becomes a monster, just like himself. But because of this, Marcellus is, shocked that he has become a monster. And he doesn't know, of course, that Ludovic is his father. He has forgotten. And he considers Ludovic his enemy because he turned him into a monster, a gruesome monster. So Marcellus is now an enemy. Oh yeah, immortal enemy. Marcellus. His good. Ludovic's son has Ludovic's son, a vampire as well. hates Ludovic for turning him. Right, so Marcellus is gone here. Take the skill Ashamed. Ashamed. Okay. Then let's roll the dice again. That's 6 and 2, so that's 4. So we go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay. You murder someone you love or respect rather than let them expose you. Kill a character, check a skill. If you have no living characters, kill no one and create a beloved mortal character who you have betrayed. So you kill someone you love or respect rather than let them expose you. Kill a character. Okay. So yeah, this is I guess this is what happened at the night. Yeah. As Marcellus and Ludovic were fighting, they were actually making such a ruckus that his wife Adriana came outside. She saw him kill Marcellus, at least she assumed he was killed. And so, of course, she tried to warn everybody in the village. She tried to get help, but of course, still in his blood rage and his bloodthirst, he had to protect himself. And I guess the years of being all by himself, he wasn't able to think straight anymore. And in his panic, he also killed his wife, Adriana. Damn, dude. Because he didn't want her to get everybody in the village to expose him. So Adriana is dead now. Oh. And I have to check a skill. I'm going to remove wood singing, because as a vampire he had no feel for it anymore. I don't know if I have to leave it or not, so I'm going to put a check mark next to this one. Well, it's not a check mark, but you know. Ludovic, what are you doing? You killed your wife and your son. Damn. Next, we have 9 and 1, so that's 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Okay, generations of the same family serve you. This line starts from any living mortal character or from the descendants of a dead mortal character. What bizarre rituals do they tie to their servitude? Lose a resource and create a servitors of the lineage resource. Okay, oops. Okay, generations of the same family serve you. Okay. So after a lot of years... Oh yeah, because he killed his wife and son. His son probably moved somewhere. And the cave near the waterfall was discovered by some druids that knew about the curse, and they were sympathetic with him, with Ludovic, because of him losing everything and having to live in a cave. So they were bringing him food once in a while, helping him with clothes to keep him warm, in exchange for not killing the druids all the time. So Ludovic made a pact with the druids, in which he promised never to kill any druids from their family, in exchange for, you know, things like keeping him alive, money or food or chair, some woodworking, you know, stuff like that. Maybe help him move some stuff, or build his house. Yeah, the waifu gone. And so Ludovic was living in the cave, building the house over there, and over the years the druid family helped him you know, just live there in exchange for not getting eaten by a vampire, which forced Ludovic to only attack Romans on the other side of the wall if he wanted to eat a human. So I am not going to the loot was already gone, so I have to create a resource called Servitors of the Lineage. I'm just gonna call that Druids. Druid family. The Druid family's name was... I don't know, I'm not gonna give them a name yet, but this is the Druid family that serves him. What bizarre rituals do they tie to their servitude? Not a ritual per se, but just, you know, help him out all of the time. Yeah. What's next? I have 2 and 5, so that's -3, so that's 10. Okay, the stars pinwheel above you in the night. The seasons are a blur. You are as an automaton, unconscious of the passage of decades. A century passes. Strike out a memory. Strike out all mortal characters. Okay. All mortal characters are gone. Okay, strike out a memory. I forgot to write down how he got turned. I wrote that down here, right? Yeah, that's the memory. Druid. There's Ludovic, because he stole an amulet. At Adrian's wall battle. Okay, so I have to destroy. I am Ludovic, son of Julius. Now that's gonna keep. He cut himself. Let's remove this one. Okay. So he lives near the cave for many years, but over time he becomes more close to the druids, so he starts living in the village as well. So he lives with the druids in the town, and a century has passed. I'm gonna have to check that. So we got Adrian's wall, which on Wikipedia is at 122 AD, so then it's 222 AD, 222 AD. Let's see. Roman, Marcellus, Roman Empire. Not much happened apparently. Tuesday, Roman Empire, Antonius, it's been since medieval. So we're still near the Roman Empire. Okay. Okay. So there is now no sign anymore of his family, except maybe his son. Okay, I got 0 and 3, so that's -3, that's 7. Okay. Your body manifests traits related to the vampire that created you. How do you become more like them? Create a skill that reflects this. Okay, so over the years, he has become very skillful in killing humans. And he has become so skillful that he can approach humans from behind without them noticing him. He can be very silent. He has a stealth technique like you couldn't imagine. He could hide in a shadow like a true vampire, hidden in the dark, waiting for his prey, and then strike from the shadow. Stealth. In the shadow. In the shadow. To strike his enemies. Alright. Create a skill that reflects this. Yes. Alright. 6 and 2, so that's +4. That's 11. Okay. How do you find solace from the raging hunger within you? You may lose one checked or unchecked skill. Huh. How does Ludovic find solace from the raging hunger within him? You may lose one checked or unchecked skill. How does he find solace? Okay, I don't really understand this. You may lose one checked or unchecked. I'm going to have to find the definition of solace. Find solace. Definition. Okay. Help and comfort when you are feeling sad or worried. Oh, okay. So he finds solace in his woodworking. It's not, I may lose it, I don't have to. So I'm not going to do it. Unless this is the way they say it in the game. So he finds solace in the woodworking. So he makes items from the trees he finds, and over time he becomes really good at woodworking, and he starts to sell it, and he becomes a carpenter. So he becomes kind of like a carpenter vampire in the druid village. 6 and 3, that's +3, so that's 14. An enemy character uses a lost resource to turn your few friends against you. Check 3 skills to regain the resource, or check 1 skill to barely survive. Which former friend did you kill? Where do you flee? An enemy character uses a lost resource to turn a few friends against you. Check 3 skills to regain the resource. Oh, uses a lost resource. Crap, I removed that resource. There was a loot. The loot? Okay, I'm gonna have to check it like that. What? How does he use a loot to turn few friends against you? How? Check 3 skills to regain the resource. I'm not gonna regain the resource. Check 1 skill to barely survive. Which former friend did you kill? What? How? Okay, so Ludovic is living in the village, and his enemy, which is Marcellus, his vampire son, he uses a concert to attack his father. So he learns of the location of Ludovic, the vampire, and he wants to kill him, of course. So he learns how he lives in that village, and he notices that although Ludovic doesn't sing anymore, he does love music. yeah, exactly. Sing a song, I bet you are, like a SpongeBob. Yep. So yeah, Marcellus, the vampire, organizes a concert in the hopes that Ludovic will go there. And during the concert, he has hired assassins to kill Ludovic. And Marcellus doesn't care about his appearance or his statue, how he is, how people look at him in the world. He just wants Ludovic dead. So he doesn't care if the assassins kill other people in the crowd as well. He just says, kill that guy. And they do. During the concert, where Marcellus is playing on the lute, the assassins approach Ludovic from behind. But Ludovic is quite an experienced vampire, and he notices the assassins approaching. And at first he tries to just walk out of the crowd and walk away, but he's surrounded by way more assassins than he realized. And the assassins, they draw their swords inside the crowd and they try to stab him. But of course Ludovic starts fighting the assassins, and during all that there's a lot of swords flying around, people, innocent people dying in the crowd, and panic ensues, and everybody starts running around, and everybody notices that it is Ludovic who is creating this ruckus and this great panic. And during the battle, Ludovic is able to kill a few of the assassins, which are related to the people in the village as well. And so after he kills the last assassin, he stares at Marcellus at the stage, who is still looking at him with a fire in his eyes, still wanting Ludovic dead. And they fight against each other, and during the fight they destroy so much around them. The fire from the torches falls on the carpets and the drapes, and the village almost gets half burned down because of the fight. And after the fight is done, Ludovic notices that the sword he grabbed from one of the assassins is right in the middle of the chest of Marcellus. And he holds his son, his dying son now, in his arms. Can he remember that? As he remembers that it was indeed his son that he turned into a vampire and into his enemy. And he walks away from Marcellus, thinking he has killed him. But of course we know that it is not so. He walks away, but because of the entire damage that he has done to the village, he is cast away from the village and he is ordered never to return. And so he indeed flees away from the village, and he abandons the druids in the forests in the Scottish area of Great Britain. And he walks away. He flees towards the other side of the wall, thinking that he has no more purpose near the druids. But there are a few druids from the servitors of the lineage that might follow him and help him out. So with a carriage and a few of his belongings, he rides towards Londinium, which is apparently a place that is very famous, and he thinks that he can hide there amongst the people. So his long journey towards Londinium begins. Which former friend did you kill? I didn't kill anybody because he didn't have any friends. Well, he killed those. Okay, so check one skill to barely survive. Well, that's kind of survive. So I'm gonna check ashamed. I'm gonna check ashamed because right now he has no shame anymore about those things. Alright, next up. Okay, I got 8 and 3, so that's 5. That's 19. 19. two friendly characters become embroiled in an internecine conflict. Internecine? What? What kind of word is that? Can I copy that? Okay, meaning
internecine.
Internecine. Okay. Destructive to both sides of the conflict. Okay, that's very important. Okay, so two friendly characters become involved and check a skill. Create up to two characters if needed. How do you profit? Gain a resource. Okay. So, as our Ludovic is now living in Londinium, he has started his woodworking business because that's his skill. And as a woodworker in Londinium, he is very skilled and he is able to make a good living. And you know, he starts to live the nightlife in this big city. Okay, I have to check how big London was back then. Okay, London, let's say 250 AD. Did it even exist then? Okay, so there was a city. Okay, timeline of London. Whoa. Okay, 250. The coasting bar sinks in the Thames. Okay, so there is work. All right. So he has a nice living in London, and he has been able to gather a few friends in the city because you know the nightlife is brewing with activity. He has Pietro, who is an immigrant or a soldier from Italy, who traveled to Londinium, and we have I should have had a list with names. I'm gonna call it. Okay. Gandovic, who is just a carpenter, and yeah, two friendly. So they have a party and they have a good life, but the soldier from Italy, Pietro, has a drinking problem. And because of that he has very little money. And during one of the nights that they go out, Pietro is drinking a lot, and Gandovic notices this because they and Ludovic, they are out drinking, and Gandovic confronts Pietro about the debt that he still has about some items that he made for him, and that Pietro still has to pay him back. And Pietro is like, no, I'll pay you back. But Gandovic is like, no, you owe me so much money. I have bills to pay. And the discussion becomes way more heated than they anticipated. And yeah, they become fighting. They start fighting. And during the fight they hit each other really hard, and Ludovic has to like stop them from fighting. And he's like, hey guys, look, I'll pay Gandovic a little bit of Pietro's money, but Pietro, you have to give me one of your items. Yeah, because Pietro is from Italy, so he has an olive garden over there, and so so Ludovic says like, okay, look, give me a part of your land in Italy and I will pay your debt. And Pietro is like, okay, fine, I'll do it, because it's like we're talking big debt here, like many gold pieces, many golden schmeckles. And so Ludovic gains a lot of land in Italy near an olive garden. It's a small house, it's a small piece of land, that doesn't mean anything, but you know, it's his now. He has the paperwork, and Ludovic is happy about that. I have to check a skill. We're gonna remove sword fighting, because, you know, yeah. What's this? 7 and 4, so that's 3, so that's 22. Okay, create a mortal character. You have shaped them from infancy to be exact what you want. Lose a resource. Okay. So during his stay in Londinium, he has this little character. You're shifting from infancy. Okay, so as he is living in London, he is a carpenter, and he has a trainee, and he is helping this little kid become a better woodworker. And during his trainings in woodworking, he molds the little boy. The little boy is called Miko. Miko. It's not really a name, but whatever. Okay, to accept what you want. Okay. Miko is a friendly little character, and he's really skilled carpenter after many years. Skilled carpenter. After many years, he is able to match the skills of Ludovic, and they become really skilled at making items, and they create kind of a name for themselves. But of course, Ludovic still has to keep his vampire thing a secret. So Miko becomes kind of the person that interacts with the people during the day, and Ludovic is the one that becomes the one that works at night at the items. So although Miko is really a good skilled carpenter, he's more of the face of the company. And he kind of shaped the company to it as well. Lose a resource. Okay. Gains a lot of land. Serve it to the Lilians. Because of this, the druids feel like they don't have to serve him anymore. One and 3, so we go back 2. That's 20. Okay. There's a great shift in the way society moves goods. How does this work to your advantage? Check a skill. Create a skill based on a memory. Okay, so check a skill. We're gonna do stealth in the shadow, and then create a skill based on a memory. Fuck! I'm an idiot. Oh crap. I had to create memories with each prompt that I made. Fuck. Okay. Okay, so we had killed a wife, turn the sun, we have the fight with friends, gain land in Italy, train Miko in Italy, fuck. Okay, we had 22, that was that. 20. We also had. Oh crap. Fucked up. Okay, so we're gonna have to continue the game now properly. Okay, so there's a great shift in the way society moves goods. How does this work to it? Okay. So, there's a great shift in how goods are transported. Don't have trains, we don't have boats. So Ludovic is able to live in Londinium for many years, and once in a while he travels to Italy, to that plot of land, and he builds a little house over there as well. But as the sun is very hot over there, he doesn't go there a lot. And after many years, Miko has a son as well. Miko has a son who Miko's son who inherits the land of in Italy near the Olive Garden. So Miko's son who lives in Italy over there, and over the many years, who lives in Italy, yeah. And in order to go to Italy once in a while, they buy a carriage that is completely sealed off from the light. And of course, over the years, Miko eventually discovered the secret of Ludovic. And in order to keep the secret and to live in hiding with that, they sort of found a way to get poor people killed by Ludovic. Of course, Miko found this very hard to live with, and so he also moved to Italy with his son. And so Miko and his son live in Italy at the plot of land. Yeah. Of course, the land is still in name of Ludovic, so he still owns that land. And after many years, yeah, so this is difficult. I mean, I have to skip a shit ton of years for that. Yeah, caravans, I guess. So check a skill and create a new skill based on a memory. So the memory is that Miko. So this is gonna have to go away, and Miko is trained by Ludovic. Oh wait, Miko is trained by Ludovic. Miko has a son that lives in Italy on Ludo's plot of land, and they travel to Italy in a carriage that blocks the sun. Okay, and now I have to create a skill based on a memory. Fight with friends, gain land in Italy. Let's call this skill talking, conversation skill. Conversation skill. Okay. I feel like I'm playing this game way badly. Okay. 9 and 2, so that's plus 7, that's 26. Okay. You accidentally create a vampire through sloppy feeding. Create an immortal character from an existing mortal character. Why do you not destroy them? Check a skill. Okay. So during his travels, he has Miko driving the carriage in the caravan, and as they are traveling to Italy, no, they're traveling back from Italy, and during one of the travels, during one of the nights that they stay, they are somewhere in France, and you know, Ludovic has to feed on somebody, so he goes to feed on one of the people in the caravan. There's a lot of carriages, because one of the characters is a really fucking asshole, you know. He's this guy that was known to be a thief and a murderer, but he was never convicted because he was bribing whoever tried to you know, convict him. So he was able to escape you know, the police forces. And Ludovic is like, I need to feed on somebody, and this character is perfect. I can kill him, he deserves to die, so let's just fucking kill that guy. And as he approaches him in the caravan, he prepares to bite him in his neck, but the character which is François, I have to put that with François, see? He notices, he feels that something is wrong. He wakes up in the middle of the night and he sees Ludovic lurking over his body, trying to attack him. And Ludovic is able to bite him and suck a shit ton of blood out of him, but Francois, who is a thief and a murderer, always sleeps with a knife underneath his pillow, and in order to defend himself, he stabs him in the neck. As blood gushes out of Ludovic's neck, he pulls away with the sword still in his neck, and Francois is like, fuck, he bit me, what the fuck is going on? And Ludovic runs away from the carriage back to his own carriage, and in the carriage he's like, fuck, Miko, I tried to fucking feed on that murderer, but he was able to attack me and he stabbed me in the neck. He pulls out the knife and he holds the wound close, and he's bleeding really hard, for as hard as he can as a vampire, of course, but it's the blood that he's just sucked up, so yeah, it's everywhere. And Miko is kind of in a panic, like, fuck, what happened? What do we do? Do we stay here? Do we go away? And it's like, Ludovic in a panic, like, Miko, we have to go. We cannot stay here, because Francois is going to expose us as the monster that I am, and they're gonna know that you are with me. They will kill us, and I will die because they will try to get me out of here. So in the daylight they will try to chase me, so we have to get out of here. And in a panic they load up the things and they charge away from the caravan. And as they start to drive away from the caravan, they hear Francois scream really loud at them, waking everybody up and waking up the camp. So they're like, okay, luckily we were away in time. Why do you not destroy them? Check skill. Did I check the skill? Yeah, Bloodthirsty is gone. Okay, so now they are on the run away from the caravan and away from there. Okay, I have 3 and 3, so we stay over here at 26. So now I have to do the second one. Okay, so this immortal character lurks on the fringes of your existence. They become an embodiment of one of your least savory checked skills. How do they act when your path cross? What disturbing gift do they give you? Create a resource. Okay, so as Ludovic, I have to write down the memory. Okay, I'm going to remove memory number 3. So Ludovic tries to feed on Francois, but fails and runs away. I had to create an immortal character. Yeah, Francois is an immortal character. Francois, the vampire. Okay, so as they drive away from the carriage, Francois tries to follow them. He sort of knows who they are because they were talking about stuff during the travels, and sword fighting is checked. Okay, this. So Francois stalks Ludovic in order to get a sort of a revenge kind of thing, but because Francois himself is already a murderous evil dude himself, he kinda sees this vampire skill as a blessing, as an interesting thing. So he kind of lives near Ludovic because he's like, how does Ludovic survives as a vampire? So he tries to learn from Ludovic, and he spies on him during the night and during a long time in London. And after a few years, Francois is able to live in Londinium as well as a vampire. And he is kind of like the person eating whoever he wants. He doesn't care about who he kills, and a lot of innocent people get killed by a vampire. And Ludovic notices this, because every time that he reads the billboard in the squares, he notices that someone killed a person. And over time, Miko is like doubting the honesty of Ludovic. And so Miko is not really happy with all these killings. And Ludovic tries to explain that there's another vampire, probably the one that Francois guy, living in London as well. So they start hunting for this Francois. And as they are trying to pin down where this other vampire Francois lives, they discover his pattern, and Miko is quite skilled at it, and so is his son, because Miko's son sometimes comes traveling to the village as well, to London as well. And on one fateful night, when Miko's son is at Ludovic's place, Francois feels that this is a nice time to appoint his dominance of Londinium, because of course he feels very strong and immortal, and he's like building an underground thievery guild. And to prove to Ludovic that he is the master vampire of Londinium, he kills Miko's son. And in doing so, he not just kills Miko's son, he kills him by decapitating him, and he gives the skull, after cooking of the meat, he gives the skull of the son to Ludovic. And of course, this is like really a shattering time, especially for Miko, who has now lost his son. Is like, and Miko cannot forgive Ludovic for getting him involved in this entire endeavor, and Miko curses Ludovic and Francois as well, of course, but he blames the vampires, and Miko himself actually starts hating vampires now, and he considers Ludovic and Francois as his mortal enemy now, and he will try everything to kill any vampire. The skull of Miko's son. Yeah, Ludovic keeps the skull near him as a reminder of never to let any of his prey live. So that every time that he preys on somebody, he has to kill them instantly and make sure that they are dead. But of course, Francois is not like that, and he doesn't care if a vampire is created. Of course, he doesn't want competition, so he tries to kill them as well. But sometimes, once in a while, he forgets to kill a person and another vampire is born. Yeah. Check skill. 3, 2, so that is 1 plus 1. That's 27. Wars rage throughout the region in which you reside. You withdraw into a hidden retreat, waiting for them to pass. Lose a resource. Okay. Okay, war. I don't know, I suppose there's some war with some barbarians. Ah, here, London is raided by Vikings. Vikings. Oh, this is a good one. Oh, it was in London. Wait. Ah, here, this one. Constantine occupies Londinium, saving it from attacks by mercenary Franks. Okay, mercenary Franks. Apparently that's a thing. 296. So yeah, that means that Miko is probably dead by now. In 296. And these two guys are dead as well. So yeah, wars rage throughout the regions in which you reside. Londinium is attacked by the Franks, and Ludovic is kind of tired of all the fighting, and he retreats to a hidden place, waiting for the time to pass. Yeah, as he is still the owner of the lot of land in Italy, Ludovic travels to Italy to live there near the Olive Garden. So now Ludovic is living in Italy in 296. Alright, 296. 380. We are at 380. Yeah. Lose a resource. What resource is he losing? I think we can lose this. The schmeckles? Well, no, we can lose this. That's better. The cave is long gone by now. So yeah. 6 and 4, that's +2, that's 29. Okay, you are exposed as a monster and flee to a far-off land. Again, lose any stationary resources. You do not know the language of this new place. How do you overcome this obstacle? What new name do you take? Well, actually, this fits perfectly with the travel to Italy. Fight with Viking land in Italy. Miko is trained by Ludovic. Fails and run away. Yeah, let's remove this one. As he travels away from the city. So, Ludovic travels to Italy and lives in a village near an olive garden. That's from the previous prompt, And now this prompt is, I am forgetting to do that. So yeah. So Ludovic is exposed in Italy, and he has to travel to another place. He has to run away, and he doesn't want to go back to London because of Francois over there. He doesn't want to stay here, so he travels to France. He doesn't know French, so he figures that Paris is a good place to go to. How do you know? So he runs away to Paris, and he starts living in the sewers near, because Paris is a really big. How big is Paris back in the day then? Timeline Paris. Timeline of Paris. A Celtic tribe found the town. Oh wait, that's before Christ. Here. We are here. The rampart is built around Ile de la Cité. Okay. So he starts living in Paris as a farm near one of the abandoned buildings as a vampire. He's kind of tired of woodworking, so he starts living. He finds an abandoned church where he starts to build his little home inside. Lose any stationary resources, so gains a lot of land. Servitude. Oh wait. Yeah, okay. So he lives in a church now at the edges of Paris, and during the night he goes outside into the city to feed on the poor, and once in a while he captures a human and locks that human inside of a dungeon in the church, and he feeds on that human multiple times. Not by biting him, but by mutilating him. So he, like, for example, cuts a wound in his victims and drinks the blood that way, so that he not infects them and he can feed off one human multiple times. Over time, the dungeon in the church becomes a dungeon of murder and pain and evil. As he lives, Ludo, he takes the new name as Ludo. Just, Ludo. So yeah, Ludo lives in Paris in an abandoned church. In the dungeon he sometimes holds humans to feed on, and then once the human is completely fed up he throws away the body. As best as he can. 6 and 1, so that's 5, so that's plus 5, that's 34. Okay, you destroyed something important to you in a purposeless rage. Lose a precious memory or destroy a resource. You destroy something important to you in a purposeless. What do we still have? We still have the skull, the schmeckles, and the sword. So yeah, one day Ludo is in Paris and he is being completely drunk one night, and he's like, fuck this shit, I'm gonna feed on somebody, whatever, I don't care, just gonna grab a random person from the street, I'm gonna eat them. And in doing so, he attacks somebody, he kills him completely, but he is discovered by the people around him, and everybody exposes him and starts chasing him with pitchforks and fires, and he has to run away from a mob of angry people. He nearly escapes from the people, but he notices that he cannot ever go back to the city of Paris, at least not the way he is now. He is so fucking angry about it when he is in his dungeon that he grabs the skull of Miko's son and he throws it against the wall, and it shatters in a million pieces. And he realizes that because the skull of Miko's son represented the fact that he should kill every prey that he has, and now he destroyed that again because he was not careful enough again about feeding on the humans, and he is fucking raged about that. Yeah. First I have to write that down in a memory. Okay. He destroys Miko's son's skull. Okay. We have 1 and 4, so we go back 3, so that's 31. And because of this, you can capture a boy that looks like his son, and then the... Oh yeah, that was a good one. That would have been something. Damn! Oh, but that's a good one. Maybe he meets somebody that may look like his son later. That is, of course, yes, he still remembers his son. Okay. So right now, 31. You fall into a deep slumber for hundreds of years. Strike out any mortal characters. Okay, so because of the rage he had about being caught feeding on the guy in that prey in Paris and destroying the skull, he realizes that he has gone astray really far, and he looks at the dungeon where he has all the blood on the walls from the victims that he was feeding on, and he realizes that he has become a monster, and he's like, fuck, I cannot do this anymore. And he's like, I am not going to feed on people anymore, or I'm not going to feed on anybody anymore. And he just thinks that his best course of action is to just, maybe die. And so he goes into the dungeon and he closes the door and he tries to lock it, and he goes and sits on the floor, never feeding anymore for many days. And over time it just crashes down because he can't handle the bloodthirst anymore, and he faints, and he just falls on the floor and falls into sort of a slumber coma for hundreds of years. when he will awake, he will not know. We will have to find out. Oh, we already had no mortal characters. Okay. Okay. He falls in coma in his dungeon, hoping to never awake. But of course, that's not how the story goes. 6 and 5, so that's 1 extra. Okay. Okay, you keep a prisoner. Why this particular person? Why do you feed upon them? Create a character and a skill related to keeping them alive. Okay, so we were at 300 AD, fall asleep for hundreds of years. Let's go with like 275 years. 275 plus 575. Where are we in the timeline? We are in Paris. 575, 576, that's good enough. Saint-Germain, Bishop Paris, buried at the Abbey of Saint-Germain. Okay. So as he is lying in the dungeon, one day after many years, the building crashes down. Because after hundreds of years, even a ruin has to crumble down over time. And as the building crumbles down on top of Ludo, people notice that the ruin is destroyed. And there is somebody who wants to find out if there was anything interesting inside of the ruins of that building. So they go inside and they notice that there is a dungeon underneath the church, catacombs, and so they light a torch and they go down into the dungeon. And when they find the room in which Ludo is lying down, they feel this dark, ominous void from that room coming, and carefully they open the door and they look inside and they see his body lying on the floor. And as they look at the body, they realize something is wrong. Something is very wrong with this body, because it's not dead and it's also not alive. And they realize that this is a monster, this is something supernatural. And this is Marco. And as he looks at the body, he starts thinking about the different things that might exist in the world. And he heard rumors about a vampire once living in this village. But of course, that's just a rumor, a myth, a legend. But as he looks at the body, he realizes that, yes, this might actually be that vampire. And in order to... he's not really afraid of that vampire, he's more intrigued by this phenomenon. And he thinks about it and he realizes that vampires, they drink blood, that's the myth around them. So he's like, what if I put blood in this vampire? Could he turn back alive? And so Marco goes to the village and he goes and grabs some blood from a carcass from the butcher, and he tells one of his friends, Lucas, that he has found a vampire. Lucas doesn't believe him initially, but they go to the ruin together. Lucas is like, I'll follow you along on this little adventure and prove you wrong. But once both Lucas and Marco enter the dungeon where Ludo is lying, they're like, oh fuck, Marco, you are right, this is indeed a vampire. And so they take the blood from the butcher, it's animal blood, probably from a pig, and they're like, let's feed this blood to the vampire and see what happens. But of course they take their precautions and they take a cross and they put the cross all around, multiple crosses all around Ludo in order to sort of capture him. They think that they might capture him that way, or at least keep him at bay. And then they pour the blood into the mouth of Ludo. And as the blood trickles down into his mouth, into his veins, it starts bubbling inside the veins of Ludo, and he starts slowly awakening. But it's a painful awakening because it's animal blood and he's been asleep for so many years. And as he awakens, he feels this burning pain around him, and as he looks around him, he sees the crosses around, and he's like, he jumps up in fear and in pain, and he hisses at the people that are around him. But because Ludo has been asleep for so many years, he is really bloodthirsty, and he looks at Marco and Lucas and he jumps at them, not even caring about the burning pain from the crosses. And as he passes the cross, he feels his leg burning with the cross, and it leaves a really burnt mark on his legs. But he doesn't care. He just jumps at Lucas and he bites him in the neck and sucking him dry really fast, really violently and brutally, the blood gushing on the wall of the dungeon. And Marco is like perplexed and he doesn't know what to do. He just stands there with the torch in his hand and just looks at what is happening and is so afraid he can't do anything. And then as he looks at Ludo biting in the carcass of his now dead friend, he notices Ludo turns his face towards Marcus. With fierce fury in his eyes, he looks at Marco. He hisses once more, but then he feels the blood of the human in his veins, calming him down and making him a little bit more human. But he looks at Marco and he's like, "You are now my prey. You are now my bag of meat." And he jumps at Marco, punches him down with new power he feels in him, and he grabs one of the chains that is still lying around underneath the stones, and he captures Marco, and he tells Marco, "You stay here until the night, and then we go to your house, and there I will take shelter in your house." And during the night, they go to what is now a more modern Paris, and they go to the house of Marco. And yeah, Ludo is there. He locks Marco up into the attic, and Ludo starts looking around into the new house, and yeah, he keeps Ludo in the attic as a prisoner from which he will feed, and over the years he knows how to keep a human alive. Yeah. Why don't you feed upon them? Oh, he will feed upon them, but not yet. So yeah, his skill is keeping a human alive. So Lucas is dead. It's like completely dead. And Marco is now a prisoner in the attic. And the memory is here. Okay, we're going to remove this memory, and Ludo captures Marco and lives in his house and feeds off him. Okay. Next. 3, 2, that's 1 plus 1, 33. You know where the old things are. Create a resource and make an enemy character into it. Create a resource and make an enemy character into a friend. You know where the old things are. Okay. So yeah, the resource is going to be, I don't know, turn an enemy into a friend. Ah yes, okay. So I have to check the memory again. So one day Ludo is living in the house of Marco. He's trying to adapt to living in Paris again, but at night. And he's able to do what he did before, feed on the poor people, the poor unknown people, and of course off of Marcus as well. Marco, I mean. And he sort of lives a life in Paris. And then after many years, Marco, you know, he perishes because you can't keep a human alive that long. But suddenly Francois the vampire comes back to Paris, and yeah, as they meet, they sort of catch up on what happened, and they reminisce about the life that they have as a vampire. They met at a bar, very happenstance, and of course Francois approached Ludo with a ceasefire move with a white flag, and he was like, look, I know we didn't see eye to eye, and I killed one of your people close to you, but times have changed. How about we bury the hatchet and start anew? And by now Ludo is really not that familiar anymore with the past. Nico has a son. Yeah. So yeah, Francois the vampire and Ludo sort of become friends in the new Paris many years later. Okay, Ludo and Francois become buddies. Next up, 4 and 1, so that's 3 plus 3, that's 36. Alright, the deceptions you practice fool even yourself. Combine any 3 traits to fabricate an experience that you believe to be true. Okay. Yeah. Conversation skill, keeping a human alive, and woodworking. So he's very good at talking to people and keeping them alive. So yeah. Ludo has become quite mad, and he sort of believes that that he is able to, yeah, he has this idea that he dreams a lot about keeping humans alive and having conversations with them as he feeds on them, and that he teaches them woodworking, because that's what he did back in the day with Miko. Even though but yeah, he dreams about keeping humans alive and talking to them and teaching them woodworking, and he dreams about it so much that he actually thinks he did that. He kept a human alive and taught him woodworking while he during his capture. During Let's capture. Yeah. That's pretty fucked up, I think. Okay, 3 and 4, so that's 1 back to 35. So now we go to here. Okay, they repay your kindness by lashing out at those they perceive as your enemies. A character is killed. So yeah, Francois and Ludo are pretty good buddies, and yeah, Francois is like a guy that lived in London for many years as a boss, as a gangster, mafia boss, you could say. So over here in Paris, he's trying to do the same, but a little bit less, a bit more normal, and he's trying to keep it a little bit more civilized, less killing and more blackmailing. But once in a while he wants to kill somebody as well. And as Francois is very known and influential in Paris, he helps out his buddy, Ludo. And he sorta incorporates Ludo into the world of the underworld of Paris. And once in a while, there's this character, this guy that works for Francois, that has been quite loyal, but yeah, he kills him because the character didn't like that Ludo joined the club. And Francois was like, "You will accept Ludo or you will die." And the character was like, no, I don't accept Ludo. And boom, the character was killed. Yeah, man, this is lame. That character gets created and destroyed immediately. Okay, so Francois sacrifices one of his employees in favor of Ludo. Yeah. Okay, we have 8 minus 6, that's 2, that's 37. Things fall to dust. Lose a resource for which you have no corresponding memory. Okay. Do not create a new experience for this prompt. Okay. It simply happens as you stare in silence. Oh, yeah. I know exactly. One day, our dear Ludo was rummaging through the things that he owns, and yeah, the sword he had held for many years finally broke down. By now it was just a mere show from his past, but in the end it couldn't be held, and it broke down. It was rusted and it was broken down, and with sadness in his heart he threw it away. Two and two, we stay at the same location. Okay, you create. You are a creature with habits of unknown origin. Lose an unchecked skill for which you have no corresponding memory. Okay, lose an unchecked skill for which you have no corresponding memory. An unchecked. So woodworking, conversation skill, and keeping a human alive. Okay, so keeping a human alive, that's yeah, that's this. Conversation skill. What was that? How did I get that? And woodworking. Now, woodworking was one of the first. I still have this, so I think conversation skill is one that I lose. Alright. feel like this doesn't get prompts. Just going to throw 0 and 3, so that's -3, so we go to 34. Okay, so we've been here, so we go to the second one. Okay, your frenzies terrify even yourself. Do you learn to control them, or do you embrace this horror? Kill a mortal character if there is one, or create a mock if not. Okay. So, as he becomes older and older, the bloodthirst becomes more difficult to control sometimes, and one day he was in a lot of trouble to control the rage that he was feeling, and yeah, there was nobody around him, so he was so raging that he started hurting himself, and in his rage, in trying to feed off somebody, he wanted it to feed on himself, so he looked at his arm and he started biting in his wrist. And as he was biting really hard and multiple times, so he was really cutting his hand, and I mean his arm, his wrist. But as he is a vampire, it didn't heal, and now he has many holes inside of his wrist, on his left wrist. Now we're gonna remove this one. He bites his wrist in rage, in blood rage. Blood, hunger, rage. One and 5, that's 4 back, so that's 30. What social mores have you have you forgotten? Lose a check skill. And as he was sitting there biting on his arm, he realized that he once again was becoming a monster. His bloodthirst had turned him into a monster, and he became less of a human once more. And he forgot to be human even more. Singing was not something he would ever do again. 3, we stay at the same. Okay, you feel a love forbidden by the convention of mortals around you. Create a new character, lose a resource. Okay. Create a new character, lose a resource. So we're gonna lose the resource first. We're gonna do this. Yeah. Still have woodworking and keeping a human alive. Checked. Okay, and here we have still the bag. I had to lose a resource, right? Lose a resource. Okay, so after having bitten his arm, he's like, I need to go back outside. I need to reconnect with the human world. And so at night he goes out in the evening and he goes to a cafe, and over there he starts drinking and talking to people, to humans, and he meets a lovely woman with which he has a lovely conversation and a whole bunch of drinks. And with that he loses a lot of his money because, you know, the apparently it wasn't a lovely lady, it was a lady of the night, a lady of the Moulin Rouge. And so he had quite a fun night, but he lost a lot of money on her, especially because as after the deed, as he was dressing up and she had already left, he noticed that she had robbed him from all his money. Pissed as he was, though, he still chuckled at the thought that he was robbed by a young lady. And so he was not really mad, but he was like rather intrigued by the character Maria. The prostitute. That's not a nice name. The lady in red. The lady in red. Maria. Who stole his money? Stole his money. And it was like, Ludo was like, if I ever meet her again, I will congratulate her on robbing me in such a magnificent fashion. Okay, we got 4 and 5, we go back 1. Flee from... Okay, you disguise yourself with an entirely new persona. Take an old memory and modify it to make it contemporary and blend. Create a skill based on blending in. Okay, but after that night with lovely Maria, he realized that he has to change himself again. So he figured he could try again in some other city. And so many years had already passed as well, so he traveled to a new city, a modern city, and he figured that as he knows French, he could move to some city at the north coast, on the south coast of France. What's a city? France maps. Okay. Marseille? Yeah, Marseille, that's a good one. Near the coast? Yes, perfect. So, Ludo travels to Marseille, where... Oh no, wait. You disguise yourself as an entirely new persona. So he stays in Paris. Okay, so... yeah. He figures that he should go back into the world of the humans, and he starts dressing like the people from that time. More like the people from that time. He looks at what the fashion is, and he starts wearing what is fashionable in that time instead of what he was wearing before. Okay, take an old memory and modify it to make it contemporary and bland. Wait, what? So, so now he turns himself into Ludo. He changes his name as well, and he takes a more French name from that time, which is what's the French name? Oh my god. French name. Jules. Yes, perfect. Jules. So he changes his name to Jules. Jules Ludovic. Just Jules. Base Pierre. Okay, let's go with that. Pierre Jules Ludovic. Because back in the day they probably had multiple names as well. So he changes his memory to, well, not his memory, I have to change this memory into a more contemporary. So he is Pierre Jules Ludovic, son of Jules. Okay, let's just do that. Pierre Ludovic, son of Jules, born near Paris. Near Paris in, what time are we? 575, which is now probably 625 or something, 615. So he's born, let's say 680, and he is a soldier, just a soldier of France. He lost his wife. He didn't kill her, because I have to make it bland, the memory. And he didn't turn his son. No, he just lost his son. Now his son ran away. Son ran away. That's boring, but that's his memory now. Okay, that's oh yeah, so disguise yourself. They can create a skill based on blending in. Create a skill. So yeah, in order to blend in, he had to work a little bit on his fashion. So now he is a fashionista. And he is good at fashion. Okay, rolling the dice. 5 and 2. That's 5 minus 2. That's 3. So that's 32. You keep a prisoner. We've had that before. Mortals rescue your prisoner. But I don't have a prisoner anymore. Okay, create 2 mortal rescuers. Lose a resource. Kinda contradicts, but okay. But of course, he is still a vampire. So create 2 mortal rescuers. So as he was living as the fashionista Pierre, he of course still had to fear of the humans, so once in a while he would still use his skill, his trick of keeping a human alive, and he would kidnap a prisoner, somebody, and keep in prison. But as he was holding the prisoner in the attic, sometimes they would make noise, and people would discover that, and he was able to figure out a little lie once in a while to mask the noise, but people started getting suspicious, and there were 2 people, Jack and Josh, who were 2 British tourists, and they didn't believe him. They were like, something's fishy here. I don't know who this Pierre is, so let's discover it. Pierre Ludo. Let's find out what this noise really is. So at the night, they broke in to the house of Pierre, the fashionista, vampire, and they sneaked through the rooms all the way up to the place where one of the prisoners of Pierre was. And as they saw the prisoner with wounds in his arms and in his legs where blood was gushing out, they realized that, oh my god, something really fishy is going on here. We gotta rescue him. So, of course, they rescued the prisoner, and of course they went to the authorities, and yeah, they were like, guys, there's a fucking madman over here. We gotta make sure that this guy gets caught. So a few hours later, they arrive at the house of Pierre with a garrison of French guards in order to arrest Pierre. And as they barge in the door, Pierre awakens. No, Pierre, who was working in a room and on the bottom floor. He shoots up from the noise from the door and he's like, what the hell is happening? And the guards, they run in and they see Pierre and he's like, you are under arrest for the capturing of innocent people and torturing them. And Pierre is like, fuck this shit, I am not gonna get captured. So he lunges at one of the guards and tries to attack him. But of course the guard is trained in these things and he can deflect Pierre really easily and throws him at the floor. And as he tries to struggle with Pierre, the other guard also jumps on him and they capture Pierre and they capture him and they bring him to the prison and they lock him up. And there Pierre is on a bench in a prison, locked up, hoping that he will not be touched by any sunlight when the morning comes, because the prison, it does have a little window with bars, so sunlight will shine through. Okay, I lose a resource, but I don't have any, so I have to check a resource. So we're gonna check this one. Yeah, because it's either lose a resource or a check. If you can't lose a resource, you have to check a skill. If you can't check a skill, you have to lose a resource. So yeah, we are checking keeping a human alive, because he's apparently not that good at it. You know what? No, I am going to check woodworking, because he's not a fashionista anymore. He's now a fashionista. Yeah. Okay, so let's see where this leads us to. 6 and 4, so that's +2. 1, 2. Destroy something important. Okay, we've had that before. Your friends, we've had that as well. Okay, pull the very skin from your face in an attempt to expunge yourself of lingering humanity. Create a mark. How do you cover your disfigurement going forward? Okay. So as Pierre is sitting in the dungeon, afraid of what is going to happen, he indeed starts scratching his face and starts pulling off the skin of his face, because he's so afraid of what is going to happen. And to him it's like, this is it, this is how I am going to die. It doesn't matter anymore what is going to happen. I might as well embrace my vampirism and really get shit going and become the monster that I've been for years. He doesn't want to cover his disfigurement. He just becomes a vampire, a monster. So the mark is scratched up face. It's skin, scars. Depends on if he heals or if he has a chance to heal or not. Alright, 6 and 2, so that's 4 plus 4, that's 38. Okay, your whole being becomes centered into your senses and your hungers. Create a skill that demonstrates your feral vampire nature and lose an existing memory. So yeah, as he sits there, becoming more and more the monster, he feels the rage inside of him bubbling and brewing, and he feels himself become stronger as he is a monster of the night. And he starts banging on the door of the cell door, and he starts ramming it, trying to break out. And the guards are like, what the fuck is going on? And as the banging grows louder and louder, and Pierre finds more strength in every bang against the door, he finds his evilness and his monsterness grow harder and more. And in doing In doing so, he breaks the door with his bare hands and he becomes a door breaker. That's a skill now, door breaker. And he crashes out of the cell in which he was captured and he runs out of the building. And in doing so, he scratches every human that he encounters. And he, in the process, kills a few and even bites a few of the guards as he escapes the prison and the police building. Luckily for Pierre, his escape was long before the sun was rising. But he looked at the sky and he noticed that the sun would rise pretty soon, so he hurried really fast outside and he ran outside of Paris. No, he ran towards some abandoned buildings and started hiding in there, hoping that he would not be found. I've forgotten to do this again. Okay. So we need this, and this. So Pierre is a monster vampire hiding in a ruin in Paris. Yeah, okay. I'm not that good at keeping the memories. Okay, next up is 6 and 2, so that's 4, that's 42. That's here. What piece of contemporary technology can you not interact with due to your vampire nature? How did your first encounter with this technology almost get you destroyed? Check a skill. What time are we? Around 600, huh? What technology did they have back then? Discoveries of the 7th century. 7th century technology. Historic inventions, yes. 7th century. Yeah. Greek fire. Banknote, porcelain, windmill. I guess Greek fire. Yes. You know what? Nah. So he was hiding inside of the church, and after a few days he was able to get back out. And he started hiding again, especially now with his face all torn up. He started hiding in the forest and more away from the humans, trying never to show his face. And he sort of started living like an animal outside of the cities, and he became the myth from around Paris, the monster from the Parisian forest. But over the years he started traveling away from Paris to other cities as well. And over the years he started to calm down again as he was feeding off animals and humans alike, trying to make sure that he killed his prey. And slowly he started to integrate himself back into society, but not as a participant, but more like living in the villages, because it was still easier to hunt humans as he was living in a village. So over time he traveled to other cities, and then he moved to some of the south coast cities, where in Italy, he moved all the way back to Italy, and there he lived inside of a village which was a city which was big enough to have a lot of travel from around the world. And yeah, there was a lot of technology being shared in those cities, and one of them was Greek fire. Before that, his fire was always a safe place to have light. But as Greek fire, as he learned about it, he figured like, hey, maybe this is an interesting thing. Let me, okay, what is Greek fire? Maybe I should learn what Greek fire is. Like a flamethrower thingy. Napalm. Yeah. So I felt like maybe I can use this. Oh, this is not working. So yeah, I suppose he could be working in this Italian city where he learned about human technology and alchemy and all those things. And then, yeah, one day, as he learned about Greek fire, he figured like, hey, let's be a chemist for once and let's try this out. So he tried out the Greek fire, and yeah, that turned out pretty bad. So he burned himself and his building in which he was living pretty bad. Now, to the people in the Italian city, for them it was nothing weird. For them it was just like, oh, there's a building that caught fire. There was a fire in this old abandoned building. Nothing weird. Probably some old guy living, like some homeless guy who had a fire that he didn't turn off, and yeah, it was an old building burned down. So for the people in the city, nothing weird happened. But for Pierre, it was like, fuck, my entire home got burned down. And so, yeah, that was a pretty bad experience for him. Because, yeah, he had to start over again in that city, find a new place, find a new ruin in which he could live. Yeah. Burned down the building with fire, nearly killing himself, or yeah. Check the skill. Next up, 7 and 3, so that's 7 is plus 4, 46. Okay, you are exposed and flee to a far off land. Convert any stationary resources to a new resource representing portable cash or treasure. What name do you travel under? What profession do you claim when you come to rest? Okay. But as it turns out, nothing stays forever, and as good as he tries, again and again he was able to keep humans alive and feed of them, but again and again he got captured and exposed by the people around him. And he started becoming good at it, at discovering when and how to flee, because he had a plan on how to flee quickly. And so this time he figured that maybe it was time to flee to a really far away country. So he took a leap of faith, and he had heard about the Chinese people and the Silk Road. Okay, I'm gonna have to check if that's a thing. Silk Road. Silk Road. Okay. Silk Road. Silk Road history. Active from the 2nd century before Christ. Okay, so it's still active when Pierre is alive. So he travels to China because he's kind of sick of all that stuff. So he goes to China, and there he gathers some of the skills that he had gathered, and he starts living in the country as a farmer. Because there's a lot of mountains over there, he can live in the mountains fairly easy, but he still has to make sure that he can feed off the animals and a human once in a while. I can't give him resources. He still uses the name Pierre because it is a good name to travel. But we are now around 850 AD. 850 AD China. I have no idea what's happening over there, so I think we're going to keep it pretty loose with being historically accurate. Okay, 5-3, that's +2, 48. Okay, you wake covered in dust. Generations have passed, your sleeping place has been sealed off. How do you escape? Lose a resource, strike out all mortal characters. Okay. So once again, he starts living in a farm in China. But he figures that there's too much light, too much farming going on. Let's go and live a little bit more into the mountains. And he starts living near a cave. And he has this little sort of Buddhist cave where he lives. And sometimes he invites people over there and teaches them about life, how to live and all that stuff. And sometimes he invites people to kill them. It is what it is. That's how he lived his life as a foreigner in China. But one day when he was sleeping, an earthquake happened, and the cave crashed down on him, and he was trapped inside of the cave. He was covered in dust, and he figured that I am trapped here, I might as well lay down for a few years and get shit going, get some sleep. So he lay down, and just like before, he fell asleep and got into a sort of a comatose situation. And then one day he was awoken again. This time he was awoken by something quite different. Not by the blood of a human or an animal, but this time he was awoken by the manure of bats. Because apparently, when you cover a body of a vampire in guano, it gets fucked up. It's like, what the fuck? The acids started biting on the body, and yeah, it triggered something in the body of Pierre, in his vampiric body, that he woke up. And the bats had gotten in somehow. He didn't know how, but he knew that if a bat can get in, he can go out. And so Pierre started walking around in the cave looking for something. And suddenly he felt something burning on his skin. And he looked at the spot on his skin and he saw a spot of light. And he knew that, okay, it's daytime. Where is this light coming from? And so he started to look for the source of the light, and he noticed a small entrance in the cave. And he knew that he couldn't get out then, but he waited for the night. And he crawled back out of the hole. But he was so mangled up from all the years. He smelled like manure. He looked terrible with the scars on his face, in his hand. He couldn't go on. So He traveled in the forest, and the first time he noticed a light in the distance. He crawled toward the village in the dark, and he noticed a light burning. But the light was weird. It wasn't... yeah. It wasn't a stationary light, it was a light that popped up and then disappeared. And then again, a light in the sky, flashing and then going out again. And then a few bangs he heard a few seconds afterward. It was very beautiful to look at, but very strange how light could just suddenly appear, stars in the sky. And so he walked closer to the village, to the place from the light, and he noticed that a lot of people were dancing and having a party. And I was like, this is spectacular, but I need to feed. And he realized that this is a party, a celebration, probably something like New Year's or something. And so he knew that he could easily get a prey from one of the drunk people. So he waited in the bushes until somebody was drunk enough to fall asleep somewhere in the gutter. And when that happened, he crawled towards them and he killed the character, the person, as he bit him. He of course made sure that he killed him so that he wouldn't turn into a vampire, because the last thing he wanted was another vampire in his area. But then he walked away, and he knew that he couldn't come back to this village the day after he killed somebody, so he had to go to another village. And then he traveled throughout the land during the night, and during the day he tried to hide his best underneath a tree or in a cave or under the ground even. And then during the night he traveled again until he met a little village that he realized that I can feed of a human here. It wasn't a little village, it was big enough to, you know, feed of somebody once in a while without being too suspicious. So yeah, he started living again in one of the caves nearby, which he found, and he prepared himself to become a human in that village, but he would have to introduce himself, so he was sure to make it be careful about it this time. Okay. Okay, we're going to delete this. So he lives in a cave near a village in China. Okay, he runs to China was another one of the experiences. Okay. So now we got 9 and 3, so that's 6 advances, so that's 54. 54. Okay. Your strange accent and old ways always reveal you as an outsider, mocked and cheated at best or hated at worst. Smother these useless traits by converting an old memory to a new skill or blending in. Convert an old memory to a new skill. Okay, first I have to check. Oh yeah, I checked this one. Okay. I only have one more skill to check, but I have to convert a memory to a skill. So I am going to convert burning down the building with fire or biting his wrist. Okay. Smother these useless traits by converting an old memory to a new skill for blending in. Sign language. Sign language. As he would need that in China. Oh no, wait, he has been living in China for a long time, so he knows Chinese. So we don't need that. The fireworks. Alchemy. Alchemy. Because he learned about the fireworks. Okay. 6 and 5, that is +1. Timeless introspection becomes manifested in creative acts. Choose a creative skill based on a lost memory. Oh. I didn't know you had to keep track of them. Lost memory. Okay, what was one of the lost memories? What was the lost memory? What did he lose? He lost the Paris, France, the mining. Oh yeah, the woodworking thing. Okay. Choose a creative skill based on lost memory. So, okay, woodworking is coming back. Okay. Or do I have to lose a memory? It's a bit hard to interpret this sometimes, but I am going to put here learns woodworking as he lives in China. It's a memory. Okay. 6 and 5, that's +1, 56. You begin a fantastic construction that puzzles the mortals around you. Give just a hint as to its purpose. Lose a resource and gain the skill Visionary. Okay, so as Pierre is living in the village of the Chinese people, he learned about chemistry, the alchemy, and the woodworking. And so he was like, I'm going to build something for this fireworks. And so I'm going to build a sort of a temple where each year we are going to launch fireworks from. So a special place to launch it from. And it's a temple where they can celebrate the new year. So Pierre, he starts building a temple to celebrate the new year. Of course, if people are celebrating, they become drunk, and he can feed off the drunk lost people. And I get the skill Visionary. Lose a resource and gain a skill. Now, I can't lose resources, so I have to lose a skill here. Check a skill. So we're gonna do Doorbreaker away. Okay. 2 and 2, we stay at the same. Mortals try to prevent you from realizing your vision. Check a skill to persevere. What awful crime did you commit to protect your construction? So yeah, as Pierre is building this lovely construction to celebrate the new year, people around are quite interested, but there are a few people that don't like an outsider building a temple for just celebrating a new year. It's sort of like heresy to them. So they gather people from around the village, the town, in order to burn down the temple that Pierre is trying to build. And as they one day approach the temple, because they know that Pierre always builds at night, which is very weird as well, you know? Why is this guy always building at night? And why is he always covered with so many scarves around him? So one night, they go to the temple and they confront Pierre and they tell him to get the fuck out or stop building this temple or they will burn it down themselves. And Pierre is like, no, I will not let myself be commanded by mere peasants. And they, of course, don't take that at heart, and they start charging the temple with their torches, and they start putting fire to the woodworks, to the drapes that are already around, to the roof that is built from grass, and they start burning down the temple that Pierre had already built. And in order to prevent that, Pierre starts defending himself, and in his best way that he knows, he starts killing them with his vampiric skills. He bites them in the neck, he takes off his scarf, exposing his deformed face and his arms and his hands that are already very vampiric as well. And the people are like scared and taken aback. And as he stands there, Pierre, he realizes that he has to kill them if he wants to keep his secret. So in a frenzy of vampiric rage, he charges all of them and kills them all. And of course, in order to have a meal later on, he starts gathering the corpses, and he puts the corpses underneath the temple in one of the rooms that he had dug out before. So now he has a dungeon full of corpses on which he might feed for a few days. Starts building the temple, kills the people that want to destroy the temple, and hides the bodies underneath the temple. This is going crazy places. And check a skill to persevere. Okay, I have to check a skill. Let's do visionary. Okay. X5 is 1. Your knowledge of old things becomes a strength. Based on a checked skill, what knowledge do you share with contemporary mortals? Check a skill, create a resource. Okay. Sword fighting, visionary. So yeah, after that little mishap, he's pretty sure that he can convince. He goes to the village, the town, with the news that people try to attack him and burn down the temple for celebrate the temple. And he's like, I am a good human. I want to be contributing to society here. So let me be a teacher in this temple. I will not use it as a temple anymore. I will use it as a school for skills. And I am one of the better sword fighters, so let me teach you people sword fighting. I know you have katanas and all that stuff, but I come from the West and I can teach you Western sword fighting. And the people in town are like, whatever, it might be cool. And so they accept him, and they accept that he teaches the sword fighting in the temple. Now that he will not use it as a temple anymore, but just as a school building. So now he has a school building in which he teaches the people from the village all about sword fighting, Western sword fighting. And Pierre becomes a very good teacher, he is very skilled, and he becomes even respected by the people from the village because they see how skilled he is and how good he is. Okay, 63. Okay, how do you provide for your banal material needs? Record an experience about the time this went wrong. Check a skill. Right? Okay, starts teaching swordsmanship in school. Okay, so what does it say? Record an experience about the time this went wrong. Oh, okay, okay. So how do you provide for your battle material needs? Okay, check a skill. First, I'm gonna check a skill. We have no more skills. We only have one left here, school building. So, as Pierre is living in the village, he does have indeed material needs. And one of those needs was the need of a thing that reminded him from the past, from back when he was oh no, wait, he doesn't remember that anymore. Okay, from back when he was in Paris. And yeah, it's like, I want to have a remembrance from Paris. So he wants to get items from Paris. So he wants materials like candles or spoons or cups from Paris, specially made in Paris. And so he goes to the market once in a while in hopes, to the market in big cities in China that have the Silk Road into them. And he talks to the caravan people and he's like, hey, do you have anything from Paris? I would like to buy something from there. And they're like, oh yeah, sure, we got lots of stuff. And they sell him items from Paris. And then one day he's in one of the caravans and he's talking to one of the people selling Parisian items. And we're quite far in the future now again. We are now around, let's say, 950 or 1000, 1020 maybe. And yeah, he's talking to one of the people in the caravan, and this time the caravan has a lot of people from the Western countries as well, especially from Paris. And as he's talking to the shop manager, he notices a figure in the distance, and he realizes that, do I know this person? And he looks at him, and he realizes that, oh my god, that is Francois, the vampire from Paris. No wait, does he remember him? Oh no, he doesn't remember him, okay. So he doesn't remember the immortal Francois. He does remember his son, so he can remember Marcellus. But he... Okay, so I'm not going... How does it go wrong? Yeah. Okay, so yeah. He's talking to the shop manager about stuff from Paris, and he is reminded about his past from back then. And he talks about how he lost his wife and his son ran away and all that stuff. And how, yeah, back in the time he was doing this and that. And then one of the guys from the caravan, the shop manager, is like, wait, all these things you are talking about, that can't be true. You know, like those buildings, they are not there. There is no cafe of the things. There is no red lady. There are no soldiers in France stationed. What are you doing? You're lying. And then Pierre is like, no, I'm not lying. I'm just, you know, misremembering my memories. And Pierre realizes that he almost, you know, gave away his immortality, and he realizes that he has to make sure that he doesn't talk about things in the past too much, and he realizes that he can't talk about Paris too much anymore because that has been way too long ago. talks about Paris as if he lived there, but that is not possible. Yeah, I checked the skill. 6 and 5, so we go 1 up. Vast numbers of humans are migrating around the world. What group becomes easy to feed upon? How do you capitalize on their helplessness? Create a resource. Well, that's obvious. People are migrating through the Silk Route, and the people that are going in the caravan, they are the easiest to feed upon, because all the Chinese people, they don't give a shit about what happens to the people in the caravan. And if a person from the caravan dies, they're like, yeah, you know, that happens, people die. And so Pierre capitalizes on that by feeding on the people in the caravans once in a while, you know, not always, but whenever there is a caravan nearby, he tries to feed upon a human, because mostly there is some young adventurer in there that he can feed upon, because let's face it, young blood is always tastier. Feed on caravan. People. But this is more like a skill I need. Yeah, okay, the people that he feeds upon, Western clothes, because he kills them, but you know, he gets the Western clothes, so he can wear them. And to the Chinese people, it's just like, yeah, I bought it. For 4, we stay on the same spot. You manipulate human leaders to make one group of humans even more vulnerable to your vampiric feeding. What system do you build around victimizing these people? Check a skill, create a relevant skill from a memory, create a character who is central to those resisting. This is difficult. Check a skill. Character. Oh no, wait, I have no skills anymore. I have to check school building. Okay. Check a skill, create a relevant skill from a memory. So I'm guessing I have to remove a memory. Hiding in the ruins. So yeah, he is good at hiding. Hiding and victimizing caravan travelers. And Pierre is like, I can capitalize this. So he organizes travels with the caravans. He sort of organizes his own travel agency with some people from China, and it's like, look, we can make these people travel, we can help them travel the land, travel the world, and you know, make it a bigger thing. And he wants to exploit it. And so yeah, he puts Lee at work to organize any travelers that enter the village. He wants Lee to greet them and to ask them information, to guide them around, sort of like a travel agent inside the village for any caravan that walks around. And Lee is the travel agent working for Pierre, who used to be Ludovic, the Roman. So yeah, 4 and 3, that's 1. A possession turns out to have financial value as an antique. Trade your oldest resource for 2 contemporary resources. I don't have resources. Oh no, I have Western clothes. Okay, so they do this all the time, and it kind of works out somehow. And those Western clothes, and these Western clothes, they are quite good to trade off into the Chinese world because they like it. So he uses these clothes of the travelers that he kills, and he sells them in the Chinese villages, and then or sometimes he trades it, and he trades it for Chinese clothes and also for a katana. Katana. Is that Chinese? I don't know. But we're going with it. 6 and 5. That's +1. That's 60. Your knowledge is outmoded. Lose an unchecked skill, which is now useless. Lose an unchecked skill. Well, that's this one then. Fuckity fuck. Okay. We have no more. We have 2 here. Okay. Yeah, because after years and years of doing that, it started to get monotonous. And as people travel more and more, yeah, katana could be Japanese, I guess. You know what? Let's Google this. Google is your friend. Katana. Question mark. Wikipedia. Okay, yeah, that's Japanese. The Japanese language here. Yep. Okay. So let's just assume that with all the caravans and travel caravans, they, you know, the katanas must travel somewhere through the world, and it has to end up with Pierre somehow. It could happen. It's a nice souvenir from the other countries. But he does this for many, many years, and we are now around 156. Well, a few years later. Yeah, because his knowledge is outmoded. So we throw again. For 4, we stay at the same. Your concept of value is outdated. Lose a resource. Oh, okay, this is not good. So yeah, over the times, of course, the Chinese clothes, they get outdated, and he can't really do much with it. And he has to keep in touch with fashion, but it's not as easy to live in China as a foreigner as well, because of course he is a foreigner, so he is known around the world, around the village, and people notice that he is still around. And at first he could say like, hey, yeah, I'm just an old guy, I grow old, pretty old, and they might accept it, but over time they are getting suspicious, and he has to move from village to village. So he had to move at least a few times to another village. So right now he has his katana, but he has to travel to another town once in a while in order to hide his immortality. So now he is also traveling through China, moving more towards the east coast of the land, but of course still following the Silk Route. We 7, 6, so that's +1. I have to write the memories. Travel to hide age. Language itself leaves you behind. People discuss concepts you cannot grasp using tools you cannot understand. How is this problem dramatically made manifest? Create a character who will teach you a skill to help you offset this disadvantage. So yeah, as he travels through the land of China, he notices that there are changes in time and things are happening. We are 200. We are in the year 1425. What happened in 1425 China? Wait, 1425, that's around here. Ming Dynasty China, military manuscripts, naval issue, river lakes, iron, closed. Okay. Cannon, okay. So, firepower is starting to become a thing. And he learns about gunpowder, about cannons, about guns, and that kind of stuff, the possibilities that it have. But he's old and he doesn't get how that works. So in one of the villages where they make gunpowder and work with it, let me just check. Gunpowder China, 9th century. Okay, we're there. 15th century. Oh. Oh, yeah, here, okay. Gutenberg, right? Oh, okay. Wait, the press was invented then? Okay. Printing press, 1439. And what time did I put here? 1439. Oh, soon. You know what? Yeah, let's turn that to 1450 AD. After all those years, they learn about the printing press. And he's like, what? Printing press? How? What is this? And so Pierre goes to one of the schools in the bigger cities in China and starts to learn about the modern technologies, especially this printing press that he hears stories about. And of course it's a new invention, so he can't use it, but he learns about it with a teacher. Oh yeah, Li is already dead. Chung Li is a teacher in a school. Oh my god, I can't type. And there he learns about all the modern technologies. And he learns to become a little bit more in tune with the world. And he gets better at learning modern skills. And as he lives there in the village, in those cities around the coastline, he travels around learning more about the world, because the coastline is filled with cities that have traveling boats from not just the Western world but also from Japan, and he learns about the Japanese as well, and the Vietnamese, all the rest of the world. 4-2, we go +2, that's 69, so I thought enough. Okay, you bond with an ancient enemy character over your shared past, finding in it something more comprehensible than this modern world. Check a skill, you become friends, share a resource, and gain a resource that is shared. Okay, check a skill. So the one we just learned, we're gonna check. Share a resource and gain a resource that is shared with you. Okay. So as he's traveling around the coast cities of the eastern China, he meets a lot of people. And of course, he was bound to meet somebody from the past as well. But it turns out that it is somebody completely unexpected. You see, he meets the druid that he stole the amulet from way back in the day. Now Ludovic and Pierre himself doesn't remember the druid, but the druid remembered him. So one day, as he was sitting in a cafe looking out at the sea, Pierre saw this older man walking towards him, telling him like, long time no see. I was like, do I know you? Yes, you may not remember me, as it was quite a while ago that we've met. And Pierre was like, you really gotta help me out here. Who are you? I am the druid that cursed you to become a vampire. And at first, Pierre was like, what? No, you're kidding. It can't be. And so, the druid started explaining to him, like, how they got to be. And in the end, Pierre was like, convinced that this was indeed the druid that had turned him into a vampire, because everything he mentioned made sense. Because it matched with the memories that he had of his lost wife and his son and the garrison. But he had already forgotten that he was a Roman legionnaire, and that was very weird. Meets the druid and learns he was a Roman legionnaire. Surprised at this fact that he used to be a Roman and not just a French Pierre Ludovic, he realizes that indeed his last name Ludovic was based on the Roman name. And surprised by this, he thanks the druid for telling him about his past, but he also curses him. He also is like, why did you curse me with this immortal life? And the druid is like, yes, you are immortal, and I've cursed you, yes, but is it really that bad? And so they talk over a drink, and, you know, they share this and that. And they meet back at home, where they even talk a bit longer, and they share the memories. And then at the end of the day, it's like the druid is leaving because he has a ship to catch. But he told him, I will not leave you just like this. Let me give you something from the past. And so he grabs into his bag and he brings out a relic from the past, from back in the Roman days. And it is a sword. No, it's a shield, a small shield, not a big one, more like a crest. A crest from the druids, which he spent his time with. Sort of like the amulet. And he gives that to Pierre. And so Pierre is now in possession of a crest of the druids, which is a remembrance of his past as the Roman legionnaire, even though he cannot really recall that memory because it has been so long ago. We roll again, 3-3, we stay at the same. Okay, you and your friend retire to a hidden place. There you share a real pleasure for the first time in centuries. Create a skill about love and safety. Okay, so yeah, they were there sharing those memories, and the druid was like, do you remember those drinks from back in the day? And he's like, what drinks do you mean? Ah, the good old druid wine. We used to drink it a lot. I mean, not you and me, but I'm sure you have drank a lot of druid wine as well, as you, as I remember, lived in our areas for a long time. And Pierre was like, I don't remember, but maybe if you have that wine with you, we can share it. And the druid was like, yes, I do. Here I have this bottle, let's share a glass of wine for a good old time's sake. Share resource, create a skill about love and safety. Have a drink. Having a drink with an old friend. That's a skill. Okay, with druid. Had a drink with the druid. And he was pretty pleased with that wine because it brought back not memories of back in the day, but the feelings from back then. He couldn't remember what he did back then, but the warm feeling in his body made him remember what it was like back in the day. Well, not remember, but the feeling was there. Okay, I got 0.4, we go back 4, so that's 65. Okay. A possession turns out to have financial value as an antique trade. Oh, we've done that. You experience intense regret over a resource you have given away or lost. Do anything to get it back. Lose 2 resources or check 2 skills and get back 1 lost resource. Okay. Do anything to get it back. Lose 2 resources. Yeah, this is not going to go well. Because do anything to get it back. So the game ends when I have no more skills to check or resources to give away. And I have to lose 2 resources or check 2 skills. So I am losing 2. And get back 1 lost resource. Okay, yeah, no, wait, I get 1 back, so I get the katana back. Because, yeah, even though he was happy to give away the katana for the crest, he wasn't really happy about the memory, because he remembered that he was a vampire and he lost his humanity multiple times. And Pierre realized that I don't want to live in the past, I want to live in the future, in the present. I don't want this relic from the past. So he turned to the druid and said, "No, I appreciate what you did, and I appreciate the thought, but I cannot take this, accept this." And the druid kind of understood this, and he returned the katana back to him. He said, like, "I understand that you want to live in the present, so let this katana be a sign of the future ahead of you, and make it a good one." And with those words, the druid left the building and walked towards the ship he was going to take. Next up, 7 minus plus 4, that's 69 again. Okay. Okay, you and your friend concoct a fantastic plan and bring it to fruition. Check skill. What is it? Do you conquer the world? Raise the dead? You may end the game now if appropriate. You know what? Yeah, that is actually a very good thing. Because you see, this druid was so understanding of Pierre. They was like, we can get along. How about you cursed me? Yes, you did. But I'm kind of sick of this life. Can you uncurse me? He asked the druid. And the druid said, yes, I can. I can uncurse you if you really wish to. But know that you will only live for another 50 years, maybe at best. And Pierre, having lived many, many years already, figured that it was time to get a proper rest. Because he was tired of all the killing that he had to do every now and then. And he was tired of having to live with the thought of his wife, having lost his wife and his son running away, and all the other things. And the people that he had killed in the temple as well. He was, in a way, ashamed of the monster that he was, and he knew that he had to go So he asked indeed the druid to uncurse him and to make him mortal again. And the druid asked a few times if he was really sure if that was what he wanted. And after many assurances, he said like, yes, all right, we will do it. And then he drew a circle on the ground, marked some weird symbols, and told Pierre to stand in the middle of the circle. And then as he stood there, the druid started waving around his hands, and light started glowing underneath the marks that he had just written on the floor. And as the light started emitting and encircling Pierre, Pierre started feeling something he had never felt before, or at least he had forgotten the feeling of being alive, because that was what he felt again. He felt the warmth of blood in his veins, the warmth of his meat, his flesh, the warmth of his heart beating again properly, and the warmth of his humanity turning back into his body. And for the first time in almost, in probably 1,000 years, he felt human again for the first time. And as the light subsided, the druid smiled at us and said, "Welcome back, Ludovic, son of Julius. May you live the rest of your life in peace and happiness here in this country, as a human again and a mortal." And with that, they said their goodbyes, and the druid left the house and left Pierre behind as a human again. And Pierre then lived the rest of his life in that village where he had become human. And as a human, he was able to do human things again. He was able to go out during the day, to work on the farm during the day, and he was able to socialize again with humans and not be afraid of them hating him for who he was. So he was able to make bonds again, have friends, even meet a lovely woman, have a family again. And that's what he lived. That's what he did. For the rest of his life, he lived a happy life in the faraway China on the east coast, where he had a lovely life, lovely wife, lovely children, and he lived happily ever after until his death. The end! That might be a little bit anticlimactic, I guess, but yeah. I've been going at it for 3 hours and 15 minutes, so this is quite a story already. So yeah. Thank you, Wulfy. Thank you, Wulfy, for sticking around and giving me some needed information. Yeah, I think he needed to rest. Yeah. I need a rest as well. You're welcome. I must say I am surprised by this. I was very skeptic about it at first, but now that I've gone through it, I am very impressed with how creative one can be in this story. So if you want to try it out yourself, yeah, you can. I'm not sure where you can find it. I got this sent by a friend of mine, but it is called 1,000-Year-Old Vampire. 1,000-Year-Old Vampire. If you Google it, you might find it. I don't know. But yeah, I'm sure there's something similar if you want to try it. But with that, I am going to call it a day for today, and I am going to bed because it is 11:48 over here. So yeah, thanks for watching, and see you maybe next time. Have a good night, and have a good time. Bye.